McLaren haven't won around Silverstone since 2008. I had to double check this. It's been that long since Hamilton won in the pouring rain, one of my favourite races ever in Formula One history. Still probably his best ever win. Definitely up there without a doubt. They were absolutely dominant in Austria. Are we expecting more of the same this weekend for the home race?
I think so, especially, it sounds like they're going to have some upgrades also, and they're going to introduce another new rear wing, so they can have the downforce that they need and take those turns the way they need to. We've had Lando, have the lead of this race so many times in the past several years. The question really is which one of them, between Lando and Oscar is going to be in the lead the most during this race. I have a feeling they are very dominant right now, and their pace is far above everybody else. Even though it was nice to see Ferrari where they landed this last race in Austria, but will they have that pace to keep up with them? Will any of them have the pace to keep up with them? We don't know. And it's weather, but other things can take a factor. But McLaren is just so dominant right now. So we know Lando probably wants this more than anything right now, being his home race and everything. And I believe he has his own section at the racetrack, of all his Lando fans that are going to be there. So I really do think it's McLaren's to lose right now. And the world championship is still up in the air. And will McLaren allow these two drivers to race each other? Again, what are going to be the papaya rules? They allowed it last time, and it's great to see. And I hope they continue to do that. So, yeah, it's Lando's to lose, but it's Oscar's to gain. I guess that's the best way for me to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, excuse me, I think they will let him fight for, basically just same as they did in Austria, just let them do what they got to do. If something goes over the line, like they said on the radio, with Piastri's move, then they'll probably say something, but I think they'll let him fight, to be honest. And this is a track that you can see them really, really fight. I mean, 2022 in particular, we saw so many incredible side-by-side battles. I wouldn't rule out something like that between a lot of the field, and in particular those two McLarens up front, because, yeah, Norris has had opportunities. He's come close many times before in the last 2 years. He's led at different points in the race, and it's just not quite come together for him in the end. It was a very positive result for him last time out in Austria for sure, Owain, but he needs to keep this momentum going. And a win at his home race, like, he's going to be desperate for this. But as cool and calm as a customer as Piastri is as well, I bet he'd really love to win this almost as much as Lando, to be honest with you, just to kind of stop that momentum that he's got now after Austria.
Yeah, you don't want to lose, you don't want to lose an inch to your teammate particularly. And I think it's a race that, clearly we saw last year, particularly with the rain. The McLaren went well, and it is still the class of the field. I think also just due to that, I think both drivers seem to sort of be in their element. And as much as, Piastri's not going to want to, let Norris back in the door here, I think Norris has got a good chance as well. I think they're sort of basically evenly matched. That's why they're allowed to race so hard. And clearly they do seem to, despite some of the issues that we were seeing in the past, they are allowed and capable of racing without running into each other. I think that's going to set up for an exciting race. With Silverstone's characteristics mean that you can take multiple lines through the corners, you can vary things up a bit. Some other strategies do work just due to the tyre deg. Maybe that'll be sort of taken away a little bit as an option, what with there being rain on the cards, although some of the forecasts I've seen don't have it, some of them do. So classically, it'll be pretty unpredictable. And yeah, it's like 2024 all over again. But Piastri, absolutely, whatever happens, will not be wanting to give Norris a way back into this championship. It's 15 points between them, and he wants it to stay there. It's nice to have a one race, a 25-point buffer. And obviously he can't do that this weekend, but he wants to stretch that as much as possible. You never want to let your championship rival back in. You always want to keep that scoreboard ticking over for the championship table. And I think that, yeah, obviously Piastri's gonna work super hard to make sure that he doesn't get out qualified and he's able to maintain his advantage and control the race from the front. I think that gives them the most options, and obviously that's the kind of thing you want to do if you want to undercut or at least have the ability to overcut. It's not fun to follow here, and you just want to have every single as many arrows in your quiver as you can have.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it is changeable conditions in terms of the weather, McLaren hopefully will learn from their mistakes of last year, because they well and truly didn't do a good job on the strategy with that one. But of course, you another year older, another year wiser when it comes to that.